In order to make units or vehicles or patrols or anything you want that will move when a player or a group of players moves into a trigger, for example, you need a few things. One of which is you need the units that you want to move, whether that's units in vehicles, groups, whatever it is, right? You need your waypoint orders, and then you need a trigger. So the first thing we're going to start with is the unit. So basically the way that the scene is going to work out in front of me is when the player, it can be a player, it can be anything really you want, gets inside of this trigger, this unit right here is going to walk from here to the end of the road right there. Very simple. Now you can imagine you can chain this into pretty complex behaviors, for example. A patrol behavior, so once a player gets into a certain zone in the map and he steps inside that trigger, it enables this patrol to start executing waypoints, so that way they can move. So that way, like, if there's a long setup process in the mission, the AI doesn't really start moving until you get into a zone, right? So first thing I'm going to do is we're going to go to this unit here. Now nothing is in this unit's init field because we don't really need to do anything in here. But what we do need to do is when we make our first waypoint, and just a quick recourse on waypoints. To make waypoints, you select your units and then hold left shift and right click, right? When we make the first waypoint, we want to move that waypoint as close to the unit as possible. And the reason why is because there's no way to get the unit to not move to the first waypoint. So by moving this waypoint really close to that unit, it'll autocomplete, if you understand what I'm saying. So if I moved it here, for example, the mission's going to start, he's going to run to this waypoint over here, and then he's going to wait until the player goes into this trigger zone to move from here to the next waypoint. So if I move this waypoint close to him, it'll autocomplete and he'll stand just where he is now. So now if we go into that waypoint and we look at the waypoint expression, you can see under condition I have a variable that I've named player in area. Now you can name this really whatever you want, just as long as you keep track of it and use that in the next trigger box, you should be fine. But in this particular instance, I used player in area as the condition. Basically, player in area means that once that condition that I've expressed in that variable, which is player in area, once that I've expressed that variable is set to true, that completes the waypoint order, and they'll move from this one to the next one, right? So we're going to go to the trigger now. So that's done. In the trigger, if I go into the trigger and I go down into trigger expression, I'm going to leave condition as it is. You'll also notice that I set up the activation to be any player. So that means that if any player walks into this trigger zone, that will activate the trigger. And then once this trigger is activated, under activation, you can see it says player in area equals true. All that this is doing is activating the variable that I set as the condition for that waypoint. I'm setting it to true. Once it's true, the waypoint order is complete, and then he'll move to the next one. Mind you, this condition only applies to this one waypoint. So if I have, let's say, 3 other waypoints from this point on, so he moves here and then there, he's not going to stop at each waypoint. He'll only stop at the waypoints in which I've expressed a condition for. Alright, so now we're just going to hit play, go into single player, and it's basically set up, it's working, and I'll just run into the trigger zone, he'll begin his move orders, and then that'll be it. Okay, so we're now in game. You can see that he's not moving, he's standing still, nothing has changed, he's just going to stay there as long as possible. And as soon as I walk forward into this trigger zone, you'll notice that he now turns and begins to run towards his waypoints. Once he completes his first waypoint, or rather his second waypoint order, he'll then move to the third, which he's doing now, and now to the fourth. And that's it.